All right, let's do this. Deep dive in on a Thursday. Started my day with flat tire. Thank God that I live near the tire shop. Although I do think I got a little bit swindled. I asked my husband, what did they charge you? And either they raised their prices or I got a little bit of a higher fee. So I'm gonna have to go back there. No, I won't complain. I was like, I'm happy to pay the $10 difference. I don't know how to do it myself, right? All right, so this has been an incredible, nearing month and a half, almost. I guess we're coming at the end of it. Time for present parenting. And so today, we want to wrap it up, not wrap it up, because next week will be the official wrap up, I think, with Coach E. But we wanted to give a space for group coaching specifically only on parenting. So I'm sure there's something going on in everyone's life that we can address. But that's what today's deep diving is going to be. Focusing on the skills that we've focused on this past month or month and a half, 2 months. I love being the coach to hear people who are cutting down on screens because I did the screen free challenge. Along the way, I love hearing that women have started notebooks with their kids, kind of back and forth, or they started dropping notes and eventually their kids have written one back. So it's just really cool to see that although we're not constantly, focused on present parenting because we are a spouse and we are an employee and we are ourselves digging into our health and nutrition and fitness and well-being, just those little sprinkles along the way, just that intentional focus that we bring to it, and great things are happening. So really excited that we have this kind of structured way that when we say yes to Strong Mom of diving into just bettering our quality of our life, right? That's what it's about, the quality of our life. So the topics that we've talked about in present parenting have been resistance, listening and engaging with our children, the quality time with our kids, mindfulness in parenting, building emotionally intelligent children. And so those are some awesome, just kind of overall arching topics. We had a guest speaker come in, and I think the focus was mostly on the younger kids. But for those with older kids, I'm going to just start today with a little bit of a quick story. There, and to the moms who have youngers, yes, there will be a day where your child barely talks to you. And I've heard other moms say the struggle is like we're running through the itinerary of like what has to happen this week and what has to get done and what, for applications and this and that. And you're like, I just want that little connection with them again. So I had this experience. My daughter's been going through a challenging time for the last like 2 or 3 weeks around a pretty big decision in the life of a kid, right? Sports oriented and stuff. And it's really emotionally draining, and there's a lot of conflicts with peers. And anytime she brings it up in our house, she escapes. She runs to her room, or she feels safe enough to just yell and express herself that way. And we don't really get anywhere, right? As much as I'm trying to like listen and not react or not, just be curious, and offer her this environment, there's something about being in the comfort of your home that allows you to just let it out in a different way. And so she just flew to Colorado to visit a friend. She was flying solo. I took her to the airport. I got the little companion pass to get her to the gate. And we got there early enough to kind of have just some downtime. And I was like, I'm not going to pull out my phone. I told myself ahead of time, at no point will I pull out my phone. If she doesn't want to talk, I'll people watch. I'll take a little walk and get some steps in. But non-negotiable, I'm just going to be available. And I tell you, we had the most beautiful, and she was emotionally intelligent. There wasn't resistance. There wasn't outburst. There was just this quality of a conversation. And it dawned on me when I was walking away, I was like, we were in a different environment, right? So I know Lauren talked about those one-on-one times with our kids. And it didn't have to be a massive event, but the sheer power of like stepping outside of your comfort zone, being in a different place, kind of non-threatening, non-distracted, right? No escape. Oh, there's escapes, but it just gave her the space to say what she needed to say in a mature way. And I was like, this was the most grown-up conversation. And I called my husband and I was like, we need to make sure that we really stay fluid in these one-on-one times with them, whether it's, dropping in on a breakfast outside of the house, inviting them to like go walk the trail or something, but like those little teeny moments of just changing the environment. I was like, wow, it just smacked me in the face. So for anyone with older kids, even littler ones, right? Like just think about, they're like, they just want to be in the toy room or they just want to go do this or that. Change your environment and it shifts the quality of the connection. It helps support their ability to regulate their emotions, because I'm pretty sure she didn't want to yell at me in front of the airport, including this guy, like, a cute little guy across the way that she pointed out. So she was forced to, show up in a different kind of way. And I just thought it was really powerful. And I was like, I'm going to make a post, but then I was like, no, I have coaching tomorrow. I'll just do it there. So, yeah, another little tidbit is, change the environment, take them somewhere different, grab the lacrosse ball or the basketball and go somewhere in a different setting. And it's really cool what will shift in the interaction. So that's my tidbit for today. All right, so drop in the chat what is awesome about your kid or your kiddos, right? Let's celebrate these little humans that are growing up in front of our eyes. It's really easy, and I think a lot of us, especially again, moms that have some little bit of older kids, we grew up with, remember Scary Mommy, and like it was this like safe platform to talk about all the horrific, hard, challenging things, just a dumping ground on motherhood. And that really shaped a lot of my early parenting of just like, it's okay to vent, it's okay to talk about all the bad stuff, but, and it is, and it's healthy. Yet, if we're only feeding that one way of thinking, we're missing out on these beautiful humans. So, drop what you love about your kids. What's something, a shining moment, a characteristic? I'm happy for you to come off of mute and say it out loud too. But the more we can speak compassion, love, respect about our children or any relationship we're in, the more we're going to see it, right? Our brain, the reticular activating system, if we're saying, hey, my kid is an amazing leader rather than my kid is quick to react all the time, we're going to look for the times where they're actually leading rather than when they're having that moment of an outburst where they're having a struggle. And then we can strengthen them with pointing out their strengths. So, yeah, what do you love about your kiddos? Speaking light, I like to say, over them. It really will shape how you see them and how you interact. Love it. Love it. Look at these adjectives. Such cool kids. Smart, funny, resilient, supportive, enjoying, fearless, artistic, safe. Love it. Love it. Love it. Talented. Such good ways. Practice that. When you are struggling with your kid, right? It is okay to dump out what's like the challenge, fuel it with what is like the shining thing in them. Because it's gonna, again, it's gonna shift. It's gonna shift the energy. It's gonna shift the way your brain is thinking about them. Sweet and funny, quick learner, talented. Love it, love it, love it. All right, ladies, present parenting coaching. Bring it. Let's do it. What you got? Or some wins that occurred or some challenges you're in? Oh, love it. Fiercely independent. Such a powerful way of saying the strong-willed child, right? Everyone saw that book when their kid was defiant when they were younger, but like fiercely independent. What a different way. Like you can just feel the energy shift. Strong-willed is like, oh, we're in tension, we're going for it. Fiercely independent is like, oh my God, I'm in awe and wonder and shock of like how this little person can do such incredible, challenging things for their age. Love it. Love it. Brittany, you sound like you have a really fun house. All right, everyone's crushing the parenting journey. Tell us how you're doing it. Tell us what is working good for you because we can take it that route too. What's something that stood out from this past 2 months of just bringing attention into parenting?
I can share. You know how I hate silence, so I
I
can
love it.
share. But
Immediately, I was like,
I,
it's gonna come on in a minute.
I was thinking about making a post on this, but I was trying to figure out how to get my words around it. But so I have been reading the that wilderness book. I don't have it with me, so I can't remember it. The Art of Nurturing Boys, and it's been really eye-opening. I have boys in, they're 7, 9, and 10, 7, 9, and 10, although my 10-year-old feels much older than 10 to me. And as I was reading the book, he is having a lot of the things going on in the next stage up already. So it kind of makes sense to me. And maybe that's because he's the oldest. I'm not sure. But um, anyways, one thing so we've been struggling a lot with him also with a lot of outbursts. And I think he's just trying to decide if he's a big kid now or if he's still a little kid. And so trying to play with his brothers doesn't go well because he's very much like the little farm has to exactly look this way. It has to be this piece of equipment can only drive in this field and it's carpet farming. So it's like, seriously, boys, it really doesn't matter. But it's really bad some days, like really explosive and intense. And my husband's home with him all the time, so he's been dealing with it most of the time. But um, then it still happens at night. And so I told Amanda, one thing that I'm struggling with is like knowing which one I'm supposed to console after a fight. Am I supposed to be on my husband's side because he's depleted when they have a big fight? My son's depleted after a big fight. Honestly, I don't want to help either of them sometimes because the son did deserve it and my husband really didn't need to be that mean, but I don't know how to fix it either. So those are some of the things I'm working on. I'm not sure what I'm asking here, but I guess I was just going to share, like you asked what's going on. But one thing I read in that book that's really helped, and I told my husband, is that boys at that age, it said, can be as hormonal as women in menopause. And when I read that and I talked about it with Marshall, he's like, holy shit, that's what it is. And it like 5 to 7 surges of testosterone a day that can basically come out as volcanic eruptions. And I'm like, yep, that sounds pretty accurate because he can be fine and then he'll blow up and then he'll go to his room, he'll come back and he'll be fine. But so anyways, that's what we're working on in our house is how to navigate all of that and how to help him understand that he is different than his brothers too, like he is the oldest. So there is different expectations. He just can't have everything the same as the one who's going to turn 7 this weekend. And so I don't know. It's hard. And Amanda told me that I could just accept that it was hard too. So I'm working on that too. But
I love it because
I love it because
literally gonna. You guys hearing double like echoes? The heck?
I don't know if it's me. I don't think I am hearing it a little bit, but just wait a second.
Yeah, it was like repeating when I was talking. I don't. Okay, now it's gone. Maybe it was you, like, but that's okay. We'll deal with it while you're on. When we talk about stuff, when we share stuff, we get to hear our words reflected back at us, especially in coaching. And your hard and your struggle is coming because yes, it's normal. It's a different experience, right? And so you went from I don't know how to fix it, but it's not yours to fix, right? Like it's natural human progression into how to navigate it.
Yeah.
That's really cool, right? Fixing it is going to create this struggle and obstacle. Stepping in over here is like, and I'm going to navigate it is like, this is a journey. This is an experience. Now I give myself permission to do it well, do it wrong, try it again, right? And so what I loved hearing you say is that you're talking about it, you're invested in learning about it. And then once you're doing that work with yourself and your spouse, you're then able to show up for your kid and presently parent him. Hey, buddy, this is normal. Do you know? Because guess what happens when a kid doesn't know this is normal? what do you think they're going to start doing about themselves?
Yeah, and that's happening a little bit. Like
Right?
I never
They
thought about to tell him that it's normal that he's going to feel this way. His big response to me is always like, "What would you do if you were a kid and this happened to you? What would you do?" Like last night, Shane whipped him with a I don't know, some kind of a pool noodle thing at the pool, right? Whipped him with it, pissed him off. So Lee whipped him back. Of course, Lee's twice as strong. So then Shane got mad. Well, and I got caught in the crossfire. I also got whipped with the pool noodle. So I got a mark on my leg. And I just told Lee, I said, here's the deal. Like, what did I do when you hit me? And he's like, well, I'm like, I didn't do anything, right? I said, see, honey, there's consequences for what happens. I have a red mark on my leg. I chose not to whip you with the pool noodle back. Even though
right.
I wanted to. I said, I wanted to hit you back. Trust me, I did. Like, I wanted you to know this is how this freaking feels, dude. But so, and we talked about that, like that, how to react differently. But I do like the idea of telling him it's normal. Like, it is normal that you want to do that. Have those thoughts, I guess, too.
Yeah. Normalize it, right? And also help him learn that now that I'm in this aging body, I can't do the same things the same way. Like you just did. And you gave an example. If mom were to retaliate against you, you would have gotten more hurt because I'm bigger than you. And
Mhm.
so it just helps them to see what's happening in a safe way versus not just glossing over it, trying to fix it, right? And then the kid starts internalizing. I have problems with I'm an angry person. I'm mean. I'm this. I'm not accepted. I'm not normal. It's not normal. Most people who have the kid between the ages of 9 and 12 are probably very familiar with this like rapid cycling, right? It's like your 2-year old too. This is developmental. At age 2, before they have language skills, they start biting and hitting and scratching because they can't communicate what's happening inside of them. It just looks like a different behavior at different ages. And so this you're in a different developmental stage. So it's great to learn just the basics of development because one, we can normalize it. Two, we can talk about it. We can teach it, especially to maybe our spouse who's not as interested in it, or we're operating from our past experiences. Like, wouldn't it have been awesome if someone had talked to us and said this is normal? But yeah, male and female, like the guys cycle through every day, women cycle through the course of a month, right? It's like fascinating. And it's like, wow, no wonder my husband can be reactive and then totally fine the next second. And it takes me in certain times of the month a week to get over it, right? So, I hope that that kind of helps you to take that next step forward, or anyone here. Um, it sounds like, yeah, you can work on you, and then that in turn helps him. How's that work for you?
Yeah, no, I really like that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a journey. Parenting is such a journey. And I think Alana has said several times, like it's one of our your that those children or that stage of that child is one of the greatest teachers that we have, right? So let yourself learn from your kid, because there's a lot to be learned here on emotional regulation. Where can I practice that skill that this kid so deeply needs right now? Um, yeah, that's how they become our teacher. Go for it, Carrie. I know you got the boy energy in your home.
Yes, I do. So for those of you that don't know, I have a 19, 16, and 13-year-old. All boys, all lacrosse players, all defensive lacrosse players. They are boys. And but what I was going to bring into this was even so right now, the summer went really well. You know, a 19-year-old came home from college. Um, Everybody, you know, the older two are working, the younger one is finishing up the last year of camp. Um, but the oldest one right now, he he really wants to bring his car back to school, and I'm more trusting of him than my husband is. Uh, my husband is very worried about peer pressure, and you know, in college, yes, he's 19, but there's drinking, and he's going to be in those situations. And he lives on a small campus, so a lot of the parties and stuff are outside of campus. And you know, my husband validly is worried about him having a few and driving. Or, you know, friends convincing him like, hey, bud, let's, you know, drive to the convenience store. And he already had a couple. And I totally, totally understand that. Um, but like I said, I trust him more to make the right decision than my husband does. He's thinking back when he was 19 and, you know, God, how many how many decades ago is that? Totally different time, totally different mindset, generational, all that kind of stuff. Um, but I'm like, okay, this is something they need to work out together. And instead of my husband and I having this conversation with Joe and making him feel like he's being ganged up on, I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk to my husband and then I'm going to talk to Joe. And I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to explain each of their sides. And I'm like, you two need to talk tonight and let them work it out. Um, and, you know, then include me. I have to go to practice again tonight. So for the younger one, and, you know, let me know what you guys come up with. And, you know, the downfall for us to keep the car home is that we'll then have my other son has a car too, and so all these cars in the driveway, and no one can get out. And we're thinking of just parking, asking our neighbor if we can rent driveway space from them or something. But um, you know, obviously the drinking thing is a bigger deal, and so, but I didn't. Yeah, I stood back and I'm like, okay, how's this going to work out the best? And I know I didn't like being ganged up when I was little. You know, both my parents like, let's sit down and talk about this, and we're both like in their face, and they're like, you know, the scared little. I know I felt like the scared little like kid again. Um, so I'm letting them work it out. Uh, like you said, boys and men forget things very quickly, so I'm hoping they remember to talk about it tonight. But that's been something we've been navigating, and we have to decide soon because parent or parking passes need to be bought. And it's like, okay, so yeah, the stuff like this does not end in high school or when they graduate. It's gonna keep going. I guess at least as long as he's on our insurance, and we have to consider all of this stuff. And but then like my middle guy, he is blowing my mind. He is the most shy of all of my boys. Like he doesn't really he has like one or two friends that he actually doesn't do much with. He likes just chilling out at home with dad or with me. And he's 16, but he still likes just chilling out. But he just changed from soccer to lacrosse to football. He is going to be the varsity kicker, has never kicked in a game in his life, but has practiced for a year and a half. And that's our last feat, is to see how he deals with Friday Night Lights. And I'm like, he seems fine with it. I'm the one that like I'm totally freaking out for him. Like I'm gonna be in those stands, I'm gonna be like, oh shit. And so I just they blow my mind with how brave they are. And I would never, ever have done half the crap that they do. In fact, oh my God, I'm like almost tearing up thinking about it. So yeah, it's amazing. They are so, and I hope I can say that's because I showed I was there for them all these years. So
Yeah, I love
yeah.
it. Parenting is such an emotional journey. There's the like our emotion, and then there's the emotion of our kids. And so I'm going to start with the first incident, right? Like there's fear. There's fear about our kids' safety. And
Yes.
that's where this decision is kind of fear is driving. We get to decide, is fear going to drive the decision or is trust? Right? Because that's the other thing you're saying. Your spouse has a more fearful response of like what this could happen or that could happen or this could be the obstacle. Yours is a little bit more based in trust of like, hey, this kid is equipped and he's going to make good decisions. And it's really hard to figure out like where do we find that common, especially in the relationship, right, between husband and wife of this balance towards this kid. The reality is someday he's gonna have a car and drinking is gonna be around, right?
Yeah.
So sooner or later, we're going to cross this journey. So I love the concept of like having the separate conversations so that space for his emotions can be made. You can bring yours forward, and same thing, the one over here with your child and you. And then letting the two that have the obstacle come together. I'm going to drop the airport example. I don't know if you were here when I first started the call, but like maybe they need to schedule dinner out together so that they can both maintain composure and not have as much emotional reaction when they talk about the logistical desires that you have around this car thing. Might be
Yeah.
good to change environment. And then
Yeah.
that way you're like, hey, you guys went to dinner. What did you guys come up with about the car? But the other things are, it's so often when we are in fear to only, again, think about one side of the story, all the things that could happen versus what could be gained, right? And so that might be something to be brought into kind of as we weigh the things. What could be the risk, but what could be the gains and opportunities for this child who's in a small town with a car?
Yeah.
So listing out some of those and putting stuff onto paper helps our brain to sort through it in a different way than being in fear response in one part of our brain and illogical because we're super emotional, and then being in our rational part of our brain when we see it on paper. And the other thing that jumped out at me is like what I don't want, right? I don't want you to drink and drive. I don't want risk of harm, but what do I want? Is the other part. Like I want a young, responsible child who is able to develop healthy boundaries and say no and make wise choices. I want a child who, so sometimes we can factor it that way too. Like, okay, here's what I don't want. Here's what I do want. And does this car going to college help foster that want for him? And whoever said, I think it was Lori, I don't want to be a valet driver all the time. So getting that one car out of here could be on the good list, right? But yeah, I love that so much. So I love that you set up a framework with intention, and you're leading your family so well. And you've got
I
brave
just
kids.
wanted to add one thing, Carrie, like one of the things that comes to me, I think you are making decisions based out of trust, but it sounds to me like you're also making decisions based on fact. Because I think blind trust is one thing, but trust that's been earned. So I think about my son, he's just turned 16. So he's younger than yours, but there's no indication that he drinks at all, right? There's certainly no indication that he would drink and drive. And I think that would play into the decision for me. Like he's home right now this summer. He could, if he drinks, he could be drinking with his friends this summer. He's got a car. What's he doing? Like, is he taking an Uber? Because I think somebody put something about it, that Uber and designated drivers are more normalized now, which I think is true, but I also think it depends on where you're from. So like I live in Chicago, it's super normalized here. But where I grew up in a small town in Kentucky, it's definitely not. It would like two heads if you said I'm going to take an Uber to the party. Like that is not normalized at all where I grew up. So if my son were moving to a town like where I grew up, I would definitely approach it different. Like, what's your solution now? Because it's not Uber. So,
Right.
but I think it sounds to me that your trust is based in fact. Like you've got a son that's of the age that he might, have already faced these choices, right? He's at a party, people are drinking. Is he going to drive there? Is he going to Uber? And it sounds to me like you're basing it also on fact, which is good.
Yeah. Yeah. He goes
And
to school
leading
in
into
Grand
that with
Rapids.
your husband might help.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, he goes to school in Grand Rapids, and we're actually from north of Chicago. So yes, we are Ubering makes total sense to me. And we've told them too, we're just like, oh my gosh, if you're worried about the cost of Uber, don't, use our credit card for it if you need it. And like that is the least of my worries for him to worry about the cost. But he did tell me, so this last weekend he went up there for their tryouts for the team and just to support the new players and everything. And of course he stayed the whole weekend because a bunch of the team members came back, and he's like, you know, I had my car and guys were asking me to go somewhere or to drive them somewhere at, you know, 2 a.m. And I'm like, no, my car is locked for tonight. I'm like, okay, good. That is something you need to tell your dad. And, you know, he has earned our trust over the years. Has he done stupid stuff like decide to set off fireworks at 2 a.m. with all his buddies at our house and a couple of them had some beers? And it's like, yeah, that's stupid. That was really, really dumb. And, you know, I could tell he realized how stupid that was. And, but it's like, I just still think back of when I was his age and I'm like, oh my God, I did much more dumb stuff than that. And, you know, I could claim, oh, well, I survived. It's like, no, I don't want him to repeat any of that. So, yeah, and I think my husband just has that in his head that he's just like, oh my God, if he does what we did, I'm like, I know, but it's a different generation and they don't think like we did back then. And we didn't, you know, plus there's evidence today with phones and everything. So they can't hide like we did back in the 90s. So yeah.
You know,
um
back in the frame of a developmental too, right? Like there's a time where judgment is developing. And so what my 15 or 16, 17-year-old did and my 19-year-old does is also different. But as they're still not fully developed brains, this is where that mental rehearsal is such a great skill to say, hey, in this situation, you know, your friends ask you to drive you to the convenience store at 2 o'clock. What will you do? I mean, his answer is going to give you such great evidence. My car is locked for the night. Like, that was a freaking
yeah,
amazing answer.
yeah.
Like, oh, there's no negotiation to a drunk guy. Like, it's locked. Oh, shit, there's a barrier. Right? Like, but I think just having that, like, this is what so many, maybe I hope some women here had this, but that open conversation, right? Whether you had it with your parents growing up or you wish you had it, maybe you've had it with a colleague or your spouse or another friendship. Anytime you have that open, vulnerable conversation, you get realness, right? And so just the idea that there's a debate of whether or not the car goes or the car stays is so healthy. We just want to, you know, recognize when we're acting out of emotion, right? And the emotion would be fear versus when we're acting out of logic, right? Evidence of facts around how trust has been built through the years. So, you know, that's what you can bring to the conversation. And
Yeah.
clearly everyone can see that Carrie has you're in a good place where you're like, hey, this is a healthy way of moving through this. So I just want to recognize that you really brought it up in such a healthy manner.
Yeah, and like you said, no, I did not have this open conversation with my parents. I mean, it was I mean, I became a teenager and it was like I shut down. I was just like, my parents can't help me. I'm good. I'm gonna deal with myself. And I didn't, you know, we didn't talk about anything. And you know, they weren't, you know, bad parents. That was just how things were. Um, and I didn't confide in them, but my kids, like all of them are just like, you know, they don't necessarily, they're boys, so they don't come to me and be like, Mom, something's on my mind and I want, you know, I want to feel this way about it. They just start talking to me and I, you know, I sit there and that's what brings tears to my eyes and makes me like, okay, I didn't screw them up too bad. And they talk to me at least. So, and because I hear about, you know, a lot of even, you know, other high school moms that I talk to through sports and stuff that they're just like, you know, did you know about this? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, yeah, my son didn't mention it at all. And, or, you know, how did your son deal with this fight at school? And I'm like, you know, they came and told me about it and they told me who was involved and I don't know, it I feel very blessed, just blessed and gratitude, all of that, that my kids talk to me as much as they do. All three of them at their different, very different stages of their lives. So yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, brave kids, it sounds like brave parenting. It's not easy to do the things that lead to, I mean, because and even if we do all the things, right? Our kids are gonna have their independent journey, but brave kids, brave parent, right? That's awesome.
Yes, yes, awesome. So it is possible, ladies. I swear to God.
Go for it, Lori.
Carrie's my inspo. She's been counseling me, and I've talked on a couple calls about this. I can't remember if we've talked about this, Mo, you and I, on a call prior. So I also have a teenage son who's 16, as some of you know, and Carrie knows for sure. I've talked about this with her, who's been vaping. This has been something we've been dealing with for, sadly, months now at this point, probably longer than I'm aware of it. And, we've tried, both my husband and I, to talk to my son about it. He has not admitted to it. The reason we know about it is our 14-year-old daughter brought it to us. She was made aware of it by my son directly. And she has worked tirelessly, truthfully, over the last couple of years to build a relationship with her brother that she's desperately wanted. And he's otherwise just been pushing her away. And so we have, really been struggling to keep her identity out of it, to make sure that relationship doesn't get messed up, frankly, because it's really an open line of communication that we need her to have with him, because he's not, unfortunately, as communicative as Carrie's kids are at the moment, with us. And, so we've tried to, my husband and I both separately tried to talk to him. We've tried to get others to help us talk with him, not counselors, but through our pediatrician and just other people that we know. It's not really gotten us very far, frankly. He's not yet admitted to us directly or otherwise that he is actually vaping, even though we know he is. And we're getting ready to go on vacation this weekend, and then followed by that, he's going to be at a camp for 2 weeks. I'm certainly worried. I'm generally worried. I'm a worrier in general, but I'm certainly worried about him. But I'm also kind of concerned about this continuing through our vacation, and also when he goes off to this camp. Again, I can't control whether he does or doesn't. I'm starting to accept that, as hard as that is for me to get to that acceptance point. But one of the conversations that I had with him recently, where he completely just like blew up in my face over this stuff. He was, claiming that we want him to be perfect, that he can't make mistakes, which is obviously completely not the case. And he was claiming that, we must have lived perfect lives as teenagers, which, again, to Carrie's point, like, clearly not the case. And definitely not. I mean, I've never done drugs for sure. I mean, ever in my life. So there's that. But definitely drank as a teen. And so, I did set him aside, at one point, and we had a separate conversation about that. I said, look, I'm happy to talk to you about what I did as a teenager. I don't have anything to hide. I'm happy to share it. I didn't share like everything, but certainly shared a good bit. He didn't say much. He just kind of sat back and like listened, which is fine, I guess. So I'm not sure really what I'm asking, but I'm still on the struggle bus. I'm trying to figure out what steps I should or shouldn't be taking. I talked with my counselor yesterday about this a little bit, and she, like some of the calls we've had, and, with other people having similar issues to what I'm talking about, I can't force him to do anything. He's 16. I can't search his room every day. I mean, I guess technically I could, but even if I did, I'm not sure that would be productive, because if he really truly is still vaping and he knows that we're onto it, if he has it on his person, I'm not doing body checks, right? So we're still on the struggle bus. I wish we weren't, but we are, and I don't know, I'm looking for some help.
Tell me about what it means to worry about him. Like, what is that about? What are you worried about? That's crazy.
I'm worried about his health. About the health effects. He is an athlete also. He's a swimmer. I feel like obviously it has an effect on your lungs. I know that vaping is not, something that's been studied over a long period of time. Who knows what like long-term health effects it may or may not have. I'm concerned he's addicted to it and he can't just stop, because he's told his sister that he's just planning to stop kind of cold turkey. Maybe he can, maybe he can't. I don't know, but I don't know what that looks like. And again, I'm worried now that we're heading into like this period where he's going to be intensely with us in a different way than we would be at our house. And then at this camp that he's going to for 2 weeks, You know, I'm sitting here toying with like, do I call the camp director and be like, hey, I haven't, but I'm concerned more for his health. I also am concerned that, you know, like a lot of things, it's an addiction. It can be an addiction, and then it's people that have addictive behavior, you know, okay, you quit one thing and then you go to the next thing, and what's the next thing? And it can be a gateway drug to other stuff. So those are the big issues I'm worried about.
Yeah. I think it's really, well, I know it's very important to lay out what is behind the emotion, right? What are the thoughts that are driving the emotion? And they all make a lot of sense, right? I'm worried about my kid's health. Like, of course I am. I love and care about this kid. He's in development and I want his health to be like his physical health, right? I'm worried about his athleticism. I mean, swimming requires massive lung capacity, right? Like huge. And then I'm worried about the future. I'm worried that this is something that could be addictive, and one addiction, having addictive behaviors can lead to other addictive behaviors. So just letting yourself see what's putting me on the struggle bus. And I heard you mention like what, you know, tapping into what you have control around that and where you don't have control, right? I don't have control that he does or doesn't do it in my presence. I can definitely make sure I'm not financing it, right?
Right.
Like
And I'm not totally not.
right?
He's
I
making
can
his own money.
definitely, yeah. And I love the idea of not involving the sibling and respecting that relationship and that privacy, because she came to you out of a way of saying, hey, this is something I'm concerned about too. So that's just a
And
side note.
I'll tell you that's hard to do. I mean, we've talked to her several times, like, hey, can we maybe say this or say that? And she's kind of winced, and we're like, oh, okay, all right, we know we can't. But we've had other people tell us you shouldn't respect that. You should, you know, you just kind of go full force. And we've been like, we're not doing, we can't. I mean, if it were life or death, yes, like truly life or death, that's a whole different story. Obviously, this is not exactly that. And we've just said we can't jeopardize that relationship. That is something that she cherishes, and she's really worked her ass off with her counselor, with him. I mean, it's been a lot of work on her part, and he's been receptive, thank heavens. And she's even said to us that he's said to her, you know, that he's so thankful that he can talk to her. She's been trying to get him into therapy for other reasons, and he's not willing to do that. But, you know, he keeps saying, hey, I'm so thankful I can talk to you. And she's like, okay, dude, I'm 14. Like, I'm not a professional, right? Like, I'm happy to talk to you as your sister, but, you know, I can't help you with all things. And maybe you need somebody else to talk to. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah. So again, noticing like the things that you're doing that are useful, right? Other people are going to have their opinions, and you're deciding like, I'm not going to let other people's opinion come into what is happening in my home, right? Like their advice is from their perspective, and here's where I've chosen to do. As far as like you assess the situation, if it was a different kind of a risk level, we're talking a massive drug right now, like yes, that would be a time where we would say to our other sibling, like, you know, we value what you share with us, and this is a safety issue. So
Yeah.
just sorting through, this is what mindset work is about. It doesn't mean now our kid doesn't vape anymore. It means I am aware of what's driving my emotion, right? I'm getting clarity around it. And from that clarity, now I get to decide what are the behaviors that are going to support me in this journey with my child, right? I have some evidence of like what didn't really work, right? It kind of got really reactive. If I asked a certain way, okay, now I know, like he's worried about, and now I can am I being really curious with him, right? He was reactive. He's thinking that he has to be perfect. So of course he wouldn't share that he's doing something that's not healthy for him, right? So this is what the journey is about. Understand my emotion, understand the thoughts that are feeding it, recognizing the behaviors I do when I'm in the certain emotion, and deciding what actual behaviors do I want to do to support this child, right? I have no control over the outcome. Right. I mean, if I see the vape, I take the vape.
For sure.
Right. So what are the behaviors you would like to really remind yourself are important in this challenging journey with this kid who is having a behavior that you're worried about for his health, for his athleticism, and for his future?
I mean, as a general matter, I'd like him to be acting more responsibly about his body. like as a general matter, right? Like getting sleep. Like he's also been not, feeling his body very well this summer at all, right? And I've said to him, not in a judgy way, but in a factual way, there are weekends where I spend hours, not every weekend, but many times over the summer, because the summer was crazy for us and for him. He's been a coach and a swimmer and a lifeguard all summer. Hey, I'm going to food prep. I'm going to make sure that I'm stocking the fridge with stuff that's grab and go, right? That if you're getting ready to go to a lifeguard shift, I am putting the stuff in the fridge. All you got to do is put it in a Tupperware. I didn't individually put stuff in little containers. I'm not doing that, but it's there. Grab it and go. And he hasn't done that. And I'm like, dude, my daughter's the same way. So I mean, I've had the same issue with both kids, but I'm like, there's only so much I'm willing to do here. Like, I have a job. I have my own responsibilities as well. You have to help yourself. And so that's like my struggle part. One of the other struggles with, again, both kids, but more him than her. You're not helping yourself, right? To do better, to just be healthy this summer. And that, so yes, as a general matter, I would just like him to take better care of his body, top to bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows how to do it. It's not like he's never done it before. He has the tools. He knows what to do. He's just not doing it. I mean, sounds a little bit like someone else who's not doing all the things either.
Okay, well, you called yourself out on that. So.
I did. No, it's legit. It's
right.
totally
It's like
legit.
I prepped all the food. The food is there, and I'm busy. And then at the end of the week, when I clear out the fridge, I'm dumping out all the food I prepped. I mean, I don't know what you're talking about, Lori.
So Betsy never heard anything like that.
Yeah. All right. So when we talk about what are the behaviors I'd like to do to support this child in his development, right? And I do remember coaching you, and I use the word lead, right? How can I lead my child to what I would like to see happening in their lives? Like, how can I lead my child into health? One, I can demonstrate it through my own actions, right? I can shape the environment. I can have things readily available for them, right? I could take it to a new level and say, hey, I noticed that the foods that were prepped and easy and healthy that were going to give you energy, right? Tie in the reason why, to do the hard work you're doing out in the sun haven't been eaten. Is there anything different you'd like to see in the fridge next week? Right? We're just framing for them like, this is important. I know you know it's important. I want you to feel well while you're at work. And so therefore, let's have the conversation. Big talkers probably don't often say much, but maybe you get, I like a turkey sandwich. You're like, great. I'm going to pack the protein on that.
But I also get too that, he is making his own money and he wants to be doing things with his friends. I get that too, but there's this balance, and there's been no balance at all. Like every time he's at work, he's like ordering, DoorDash, poke bowls, and whatever. It's not all horrible stuff, but like he's spending a shit ton of money doing it too. I'm like, dude, you're gonna be driving soon.
So I want you to be, I want my child to be, I want to see responsibility with my child with his body through the choices that he puts into his body with food, right? What does that look like? What would I be doing? I'd be shaping the environment. I'd be prepping the meals. I'd be having the conversation. I also want him to be responsible with finances. So like, okay, hey, let's sit down and have a conversation. Let's help him see it on paper. What's the money we've spent? What's a meal if you take it from home versus if you order it out? How do you feel when you have those kinds of food? Like, we're just more open and curious, right? So it's good to see, like, here are the behaviors that I want to show up with. I want to help my child learn about how to take care of his body with nutrition and sleep and finances. And so you have some ideas of what that would look like, right? None of this is like he stops vaping, right? But this is, hey, I have a parent who is invested in my health, which is what you want him to do, invest in his health. What else might you do behaviorally to support him? To show up as who you want to be as a parent.
I mean, back to the point that Carrie was talking about, it's not quite the same with a car because we're not quite there yet. But I mean, he really we want to trust him, right? And we want to make sure that when he's out, he's a volunteer firefighter, and he wants to spend copious amounts of time at the firehouse where we know factually from our daughter, he has been getting vapes, right? So there's a tie here, right? So we want to be able to trust him. We want to enable him to do what he wants to do, but we're struggling because, and we keep pulling back, knowing full well that when he goes to the firehouse, that the source of the vapes is there. Like that's his source. And so, you know, as a result, we're becoming, it's becoming more difficult for him to advocate to go to do those things and to go to the firehouse, do trainings, do whatever, which is again all part of what he's been talking about, what he wants to do. So we're trying to be supportive, but we're not getting the trust. We're not getting the open communication. So we've been trying to foster that conversation with him about, you need to be transparent about who's driving you where and how and when, and you know, those types, like the open communication thing is just not happening on his end. And we've both been sort of coming at him separately, constructively about that. And it's just been, we've just been struggling on it. He's not receiving, and we don't want to be punishing him all the time about it, right? Because it's a growth thing. We know as a 16-year-old, it's something that's part of his growth, but he keeps just not holding up his end of the bargain, I guess is the best way to say it.
Yeah. How will you know when things are different?
I mean, again, maybe I'm being too pie in the sky here when I say this, but I kind of feel like I'll see when things are different when he starts taking better care, right? And he is he is communicating more openly and transparently about what's happening and when, and, you know, can I go ride with this person or that person? Or, you know, I feel like, because even for a very small moment last weekend, we were at the beach visiting extended family. My husband wasn't with us. It was me and my kids and my whole extended family. Even if only for 24 to 36 hours, he was just acting like a different kid in a much better way, by the way. And was just like, you know, his eating was still kind of messed up because we didn't bring food for 24 hours. It's a whole separate story I won't bore you with, but he was freer, he was more open, he was like, his whole personality shifted in a really great way. And I was like, he was talking, I let him drive to the shore, which was scary as shit for me. It was like a 2-hour drive, and I was like over highways and bridges, and oh my God. For the first time, he had never done it before. And my husband was like, are you sure? And I'm like, no. But I did it, and I showed him like, okay, I trust your driving. And he was just a different kid. And it was like, okay, now I see how it can be. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So you've laid out a lot of different behaviors that you can do where the power does lie within you, right? I know I have clarity that I want my child to have responsibility around his body, his finances, his usage of time, right? How he service he does, responsibility with the community, with the, right? These are the things that we can fuel. And maybe a byproduct is he does the healthier ways, but like when he is responsible, you'll be noticing, right? You'll find those glimpses, you'll point them out, you'll reflect them to him, you'll show him, hey, I noticed you ate great the last 24 hours. How you feeling today? Like you'll just be present in that. When we're worried, are you consciously doing those things when you're in worry and on the struggle bus?
I'd have to think about it. I'm assuming I probably am not.
Yeah.
I'm probably not.
The work right now is to foster the things you want to see growing in your child, right? Now, I will caveat, I mean, if he's 16, I don't even think you can buy a vape at 16. And if he's getting them at the firehouse, I would go to the I would have that conversation with firehouse. Hey, I'm having a little bit of hearsay here that my child is receiving them. Do you think there's any truth in that? Or would you mind being mindful that he's 16 and that would be an inappropriate thing to be at?
Yeah, my husband has talked about going to the chief and talking to the chief separately about it. He has not done that yet, but that was something my husband was talking about.
Like there are preventative action steps we can take to, because otherwise it's kind of hard, I mean, to get one, I would imagine, but that's
it is.
So yeah, notice when he's doing the responsible things, right? Owning that you can't force the unseen vape to be taken away. And what you can do, what will lead you to not being on the struggle bus and have glimmers of like, hey, this kid is growing and changing, is focusing on what's in your control, right? That fosters him becoming this responsible person that you'd like to see. So,
okay, good reminders. Thanks for that.
lead by example, right? It's hard. It's really hard.
It's hard.
Really hard.
I just had this like, okay, we're gonna have this conversation, and he's gonna see the light, and he's gonna stop vaping, and clearly that's
exactly what you
Just look at
said.
Carrie's face. So didn't happen that way.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we all do that. When someone says, hey, you're doing this thing that's bad, here's what you should do. We're like, yes, I'm on it. Done. Right? We all, every strong mom, 100%. The second the coach says do this, we do it. And we're like, oh, this is what we were talking about. It's a journey, right? My end
Yes.
goal is to have a child who cares for his body, who invests in his health, right? And I am committed to, for me, I love the word to leading him towards it. So it's hard.
I mean, we both are.
100%
Yeah.
it's hard. That's why we have community, right? That's why we get
Yeah.
outside support. And you can do those hard things when you just show up with that 1%, right? So
Yep. Thanks for the boost. I
solidarity.
needed it. I appreciate it. I should act, I'm not deep down. I'm like, I should send you the let's fearmonger your son. We have a yearly annual scholarship at our pool for a incredible swimmer who went to college and vaping was new and had a very bad problem with it. And he ended up dying from a lung disorder. So again, no fear mongering, but Don't send me that.
we want to,
Please
we
don't
want
do
to
that.
have, but this was like excessive. This, I think, often when you have addiction, then you also have other, that was not necessary for me to say, sorry. But yeah, I mean, we don't want to fearmonger our kid. We just want to know that there's a risk. And so to avoid risk, what can we counteract it with? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, ladies. Any other, parenting coaching as we wrap this up, just to frame what's coming up next. Year 3 women are doing some cool shit, I hear. Literally, it's called Do Cool Shit. And there is going to be, I think it's like habits and transitions coming up, right? As we veer into school year. I know it starts different for everybody, but start thinking about, okay, what are some habits I want to start building in this upcoming season? That's where we'll be heading. So start your brainstorming. See what else is in the chat. I love, yeah, Carrie, I know. I wish the coach, having coaches talk to our kids is so impactful. I always am like, just bring in the vaping program, bring in the nutrition program, bring in the quality of sleep. Because I know whenever I forward the Instagram to my son about sleep, he does not open it. But you know what? I talk to my son endlessly about sleep, and it's the glimmers where he's like, I really need to work on my sleep. I'm like, yeah, think. I just let him own it. I'm like, oh, that's interesting that you want to own that. Okay, go for it. What are you going to do tonight for that? Right? Like, just take those opportunities and just keep planting those seeds. Keep planting those seeds.
How old is your son?
16.
16.
Mhm.
Okay.
So as you're talking about driving, I'm like clenching. I've slowly not clenched. I've even looked at my phone once when he was driving.
Same.
Yeah. I mean, before I was just like,
Well, before that, I'm like, Dan, you have to drive with him. I can't. Like, I just can't.
I took the first 2 months off too. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, that's not for me. Especially after my car accident a year and a half ago. I was like, nope, I'm out.
Yeah.
Peace. Nope, not driving my car either. Drive your dad's car, not mine.
Yeah.
My oldest almost hit the only car in the entire empty school parking lot, because we started in summer, and it was a big yellow bus. I mean, he's just like, well, I want to stay in the lines. I'm like, no, you still can't hit the big yellow bus. And yeah, I was
Remember that, like, the judgment's not there, right? It all shows up in driving. Like, okay, your judgment is totally underdeveloped. Your egotist, you're operating 100% out of ego, all driven by emotion, no logic here. Like, wide open parking lot, and let's go park next to the Mercedes and the Hummer. It's like, but what about the other 40 spots, buddy? Like, could we
or by no one. Like,
it's like, I have to practice parking between the 2 cars, or I'll never know how to park between them. I'm like, or you could learn to park between the lines, and then we can find the junkiest car in the parking lot to park next to, and then even mom avoids that situation.
I know. I'm just like, oh, well, if you park way out here, you get a longer walk, and then that's good for you.
Exactly.
I had a funny moment with
Right?
my 16-year-old this couple weeks ago. My brother was at my dad's house with me, and my car was in the driveway, and so was his, and he backed into my car. And he comes in the house and he goes, "So this was totally my fault, but I damaged your car. Can you come out and look at it?" And Patrick, my 16-year-old, looks at me and he goes, "In what planet would the parked car getting hit and you being in the house be your fault? Like, why did that require clarification?" I'm like, "I'm really glad you feel that way, because at some point you're going to hit my car." Or you're going to cause my car to be hit by it, hit into something. I have no doubt.
So on the other hand, I admit I hit my son's car pulling out of the driveway because I forgot he came home. And I'm like, no, I didn't. I actually didn't damage it, but it's like all of a sudden I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, damn it, that car's there. And it's red, so I totally should have seen it. I'm like, oh, okay. Because we get in the zone too. We're like, okay, we gotta go. We gotta get this kid. We gotta, whatever. And yeah. So, but that was,
Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome that your husband's like, it's totally my fault. It's like, yeah, it was.
Well, and that was my husband this week. He drove my garage is narrow and he hit my side view and he's like, "I'm coming in to tell you before the kids tattle on me that I hit your car, that I hit the thing." And I was like, "Really? Like, if the kids weren't there, would you have told me?" He's like, "No." I'm like, "Oh, great example." Okay. All right, ladies, go help those amazing children of yours and go be your amazing self on this incredibly hard but worthwhile journey. All right, have a great one.